Yes, we live in a great country, and yes, it's given us the opportunity to freedom and pursuit of happiness, and in the past to prosper from our ideas. And that's what made this country great. It made it much different than where our forefathers came from, because before the Constitution, basically King George owned everything, no matter what your idea was, it's his. You know, you might get a seat at the table if you really wowed him, but no. They owned everything. Our forefathers came here going, that hasn't worked really good, let's incentivize people and give them a temporary monopoly on their idea, basically. And that was written into the Constitution as Article 1, Section 8. It's the only place in the Constitution the word right is even used. Article 1, Section 8 said you had the right to prosper from your ideas. I'm paraphrasing it. So, what had happened in the last administration was they were passing laws that were being brought up and promoted by what we call now the GAFA Mafia. That's Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. They came up with laws and ideas for laws, and they spent the $30 million in money to get the lobbyists to pay the congressmen to vote on these laws. And the American Invents Act was the prime example of it. American Invents Act in 2011 was enacted, and Darrell Issa stood right here on the stage, and he was promoting this whole catastrophe. And he was starting off with the most gentlest of all the revisions that were being changed. It was called the First to Invent. We used to have the right to keep a notebook, to have somebody witness it and say, I invented it, here's my date. No, they changed the law that it's first to file. It's supposedly first inventor to file. Dollars goes into computer registers, it's their idea, you lost. Which means now you've got to file your intellectual property before you go out and exhibit it and express it and talk about it, unless you've got trustworthy people or NDAs. This has changed the entire picture for inventors. I have met people that come in my office. I have 35 years clearances. I pride myself in the fact that I'm trustworthy, okay? And I've had some of you that actually clam up. You can't even explain your idea well enough to where I can even write an NDA. That means I need 4 words to explain your idea and you won't admit it. That's how bad this has gotten for some of you because of this one law. Well, anyway, I, as a group leader, was approached back in 2015 by this gentleman who was a group leader. He had been working in Washington. He came to realize there was a law about to be passed called HR 9. HR 9 was going to make it that if you had an investor in your company of even 5%, that if you infringed on or in any way sued, your investor would have their anonymity pierced, the corporate veils pierced, the investor is exposed, and the investor is on the line for the suit damages. This is unprecedented in American history. Congress had already passed it 379 to 90 something and was waiting for a final vote. Randy called a bunch of people and a dozen of us actually showed up. And it's not here, sorry. Got a couple of these versions of this presentation. We showed up and we had a meeting there in Congress, and we had people that had never heard of this. We were the first inventors ever to talk to any of these congressmen. They'd never heard from anybody but lobbyists until then. We went in there and told them, now wait a minute, and I'm going to tell you what these other aspects are that are even more terrible. This isn't working, this is destroying us, this is hurting us, this is going to take investment away, all these things. They tabled the bill. They had never seen inventors be activists. So spring of 2015, we killed that bill because Randy flew us in. We did form this organization called UIA. Paul Morinville had mid-level software that he had created, and one of the laws that came out was called 101. It's abstract ideas. They have decided that you can't patent an abstract idea. Well, what's an abstract idea? They never defined it, but they basically lumped it up as anything with software is an abstract idea. Now, what does that lead to? Artificial intelligence is pure software. We've lost the entire lead on that in this nation. Medical devices run off of software. We couldn't get an MRI machine patented last year because they called it an abstract idea. We've got so many cases now that America's losing the lead on technology because it's software driven, and our patent office no longer accepts an idea that's software driven because they call it an abstract idea. This poor man was on the line with millions of dollars of license agreements when this law came out, and everybody backed away and he lost everything. And that's why he got in his truck and went to Washington and said, what's going on here? So This man started United US Inventors. I'm very happy to be one of the 3 board members on this. Paul came out here and we were protesting Daryl's meetings. Every time we would publish one, we went to 3 and he stopped publishing them. So we did everything we could here. We then realized, well, we have to do a couple things to get more notice and more attention. Number one, there wasn't a group in the country that was united. They were all bickering about who's got a bigger mailing list. The clubs certainly weren't united. There was no voice, there was no unity. And I realized this had to change very quickly. US Inventor came up with a petition that had the core issues boiled down into basically 5 facts. And what I was able to do, and with Stephen's help, we were able to get some of the biggest groups in the country, Edison Nation, USI, US Inventor, all these major groups, they all backed us on this petition. So that was the start. Stephen got behind it. He's got a great engine for getting things out, and we now have about 3,000 signatures. We need more. You can sign up out here. You can sign up online. Very proud of the fact that that was the start of getting the groups together. We then decided, well, we got to make a little bit more, because who's heard about this? Y'all know about Kardashian's baby, but you don't know if the economy is going to crash this year because we're killing innovation. We're taking away your incentive to even be an inventor because of our own patent system in the US. When we can't defend our patents anymore, I'll explain this in a minute, these are liabilities. This is the US Patent Trademark Office right here. We're on the steps and we're burning patents, and we got world news and attention out of it because it's this critical. A lot of these inventors have lost millions of dollars. This is Josh here. Well, excuse me, that's Josh here. This gentleman had 371 of his patents on thin film deposition renounced. Now this means this patent was issued. He went through all of the steps, all of the actions, and actually got these patents issued. He's coming up with processes to create medical coatings and thin film coatings. Somebody challenged him with one of these new patent laws, and he had 371 of his claims patents taken away. Now a claim, your patents are like deeds to your house. So imagine somebody comes to your house and says, nah, you can't live here anymore, take your deed away from you. You go, well, that's BS. Well, there's no recourse. These patents are being taken away by a group that the patent office has actually created to take away patents. So you're paying to get a patent issued. They're using that money now to create a division that takes your patents away. And they're called PTAB. It's a Patent Trial Advisory Board. This is killing thousands and thousands of patents. Imagine you're getting royalties and dad's in the hospital and and it's all being paid for because, hey, you sold something, you're getting some royalties. A company comes up, challenges you. They only had to put $20,000 into it to start the challenge. You're up to $500,000 just to begin the defense on a PTAB procedure. You roll over. You die. You lose your royalties. Who else dies? Our economy dies. The jobs die. Incentives die. Anyway, we went here. We made the news. We're bringing attention to this matter. And this was pretty drastic, but it got a lot of attention, and nobody got arrested. Believe me, to the very last minute, they were trying to arrest us. They moved us around, they played hopscotch. What you're not seeing here is the other 2 streets. There must have been 40 to 60 SWAT cars, police cars. They thought it was going to be a riot. I actually walked up to them, why are you guys all here? For us? Yeah, we heard this was a protest. Thanks for coming and help publicize our event. So here's the petition. These are the biggest issues about it. The Patent Trial Appeals Board is totally unjust. It's 3 people. There's no trial. There's no jury. If they decide you don't deserve your patent, it's gone. And there's no recourse. Is that American? No, it's not. Abstract idea. How long are we keep shooting ourselves in the foot here, people? This is intellectual suicide to stop this country from being able to benefit from your great ideas because it has software in it. Now, can you imagine who actually came up with this law? Does the name Google and software have any coordination to you? Google wants to make sure you inventors don't have any rights anymore. They want to patent everything that has to do with intellectual property, especially on software. It's not fair. Injunctions and injunctive relief.
If they won't let you.
Pardon me?
Why would they let Google patent it if they won't let you? How are they going to steal your idea?
Well, until exactly a week ago, the head of the U.S. Patent Office was the ex-head of Google's IP.
But doesn't the same trial board apply to Google?
Well, things are changing now because we got rid of Michelle Lee, thank God. but it's still fully enforced, and they're putting more money in it. Before Michelle Lee left, she sanctioned $700 million, and she didn't report it to the government. She set aside saying, let's make more PTABs, let's build this division up. You're supposed to report any significant funding over $100 million. She didn't. I can go on all the other things Michelle Lee did, but it's we've had years of this damage that we now have to reverse. Injunctions and injunctive relief. That is the biggest killer. What's happening now is if you have a product, if you've been infringed, the only way you can win a lawsuit against your infringer is if you can show you can produce more than they do. Now you're an inventor, you haven't even manufactured yet, and they've got a whole manufacturing plant. You are at the disadvantage of the major corporations now because there's no injunctive relief. You cannot sue for the money that you deserve. There's no damages. Now I'm sorry to disagree with you a little bit here, but here's where China has kicked our butt. China turned around their laws. They're now enforcing this, and this is why companies are going to China now to get their patents and things made, because they have a better system. Our country, when Daryl Issa was up here and he's saying, we've got to change our system so we can be like the rest of the world, I sat right there, stood up and going, Daryl, why are we dumbing down our system? Well, when I said that, our system was still #1 in the world. You know where we are today? 10th. We're behind Eastern Bloc countries. We've totally lost it on intellectual property, protecting intellectual property. All right, so a few other things. There's actually 14 things on the bill I'm going to talk to you about in a minute that are really key issues that are really hurting us all. Accelerated examination just means that you could pay more money now to get your patent faster. Well, who takes advantage of that? The companies with the money.
Yeah, fast track.
Faster. So can you afford an extra $5,000, $6,000 to get fast track? Most small inventors can't. Companies, you know. So these are the issues that were on the petition. I hope you join on our website, sign it. There's a sign-up sheet out there. This was authored by US inventors. Again, I'm very proud to be part of this group and pursuing this. PTABs is the biggest issue. Our biggest argument is about PTABs. There are a couple of laws in motion right now. There's 3 bills. One is called the Stronger Patent Bill, but it keeps PTABs. And the problem with PTABs is judicial, and a president can change the regulations on it. So every administration, we might still be having to go back through the whole process of explaining why PTABs are bad. We want them eliminated, period. They never got us anywhere. They're not doing any good. There was never a bad patent in the first place. And frankly, if somebody infringes or says something, you know, you could always go through the process normally of fighting a patent. But the way they've changed the laws against us, it's crazy. Again, it comes back to, you had this right in the Constitution as it was originally written here. Realize this is what the Founding Fathers thought was the way to make the country great, and in fact did. But we're not there anymore. We don't have these rights, and they're falling apart. What's the SCOTUS issue? SCOTUS, on November 27th, listened to a case called Oil States. Oil States is a case where another company called Green Energy, Oil States makes fracking equipment, and another company called Green Energy infringed on them, copied them, knocked them off. Oil States tried to sue. Green Energy used these new patent rules saying, no, you shouldn't even own this patent. That's how these PTABs, they get involved. They say, you shouldn't even own this patent because it's either obvious or there's some other work in this area that you missed originally. It was a bad patent. It shouldn't have been issued. Anyway, they took it all the way to the Supreme Court to the point where they're saying this patent should not be a property right. It should be a public right. Now again, imagine you own a house and somebody comes and goes, hey, give me your deed back, thanks, we're going to turn this into a public park. Whoa, wait a minute. You know what private property means is that I get to decide what happens to this. I can sell it, I can license it, I can sit on it, I can manufacture it, whatever. My right, my property right. And what is at stake right now is the whole concept that patents are property rights. And if the Supreme Court decides differently, there is absolutely no incentive to invent because you don't own your ideas anymore. We're right back to where we are, where King George ran everything. You got it? It's that serious. Right now it's a split decision because politically the judges are biased. Anyway, we went, we made signs, made noise, tried to get as much news out there as possible. Very difficult getting the news, again, because it's an issue that only 0.001% of the population knows or cares about. But it affects everybody, and it affects our next generations, and the generations after that. So, I try to be as active as possible in getting out to Washington. Randy's still a great champion, so is Paul. We have been bringing more people that are actually making the commitment. The one thing that really bugs me is this whole idea that abstract ideas are not patentable. Amicus briefs are where the industry writes letters to the judges that are deciding these factors. And I'm very happy to have been a named inventor that I'm fighting a case that's about whether or not the 101 rules should stand, the abstract idea. We have gone the next step now, and we've actually created a bill that we are now promoting through Congress. We have now over 200 Congress members that have come aboard, are willing to support us. It's an amazing turnaround, but it's only happened because a few of us actually showed up in Washington and talked to these people really face to face. This is the bill. Again, it measures these issues, and we want to restore injunctive relief, eliminate the PTABs, get rid of the abstract idea, venue. A lot of these things are even more complicated. Some of them are so complicated, it takes a law degree to figure it out. We've tried to distill it down to just this, and then when you go on our website, there is a full couple-page explanation about each one of these and why it matters and why we're trying to fight it. So what's happening now is more of us are joining. I was back in D.C. Recently with 10 of us, and we all went to different congressmen's office and explained to them we're inventors, and number one, we're golden boys, because they've never seen inventors before. We've never been activists before. We're pacifists. Most of us are not that outwardly. Anyway, it's just they've never seen inventors before react like this. And so the whole picture has so dramatically changed in the last year. We're just so blessed to realize there are people that still care about this system, and some of them still can do something about it. So we were there recently talking to congressmen. A gentleman from Texas filmed us because he wants to make a bigger issue about it. The last meeting I went in, I don't know if this really made the effect or not, but last meeting I walked into Darrell Issa's office, and Paul and I and this other lady who was with us, and we want to talk to Darrell Issa. He won't talk to you. Okay, well we're talking to Stafford. We want to tell him about the patent laws, how it's affecting us, how bad it is for the economy, what our views on this and that. And all right, thanks. Here's our card. So I didn't get any response there. It was that night that he announced he wasn't going to run again for Congress. So hopefully we were the final straw, but. You know, he might raise his head and come back on the 51st, I heard. Anyway. So it's about being active. Now, why does that matter? Because this is how your government runs right now. These are the proverbial halls of Congress, and what's missing?
People.
Exactly. The only people that they're hearing from in Congress are the lobbyists, the people paid to go there and give the corporation's opinion. Every one of these flags is a congressman's office. The floors are shiny, but there's nobody participating anymore. The apathy level's up to here. Everybody thinks somebody else is going to take care of it. And all your rights are going to be gone before you realize it. What is it said about evil? It's not the people that are going to cause harm, it's the people that don't stop them.
I'll be there. I'll be there in
Thank you.
a month.
No, I'm going to be there in April. I'll tell you about that in just a second. But thank you. Michelle is such a patriot. And her work is for another group with parallel mission. It's a Coalition for Process America that's been working on the trade agreement issues. And that has to do with manufacturing in a way we've got the worst trade agreements ever now because corporations had their way. And anyway. So this is a big issue. Get involved and maybe we won't fall into these problems in the future. There is still time to change these issues. We need to do it because, this is why we're here. We expect something to come out of the labors of our mind, and you still can, but it's getting harder, and we really have to fight. This year is really the most critical year in America's history for inventors. Absolutely. So, thank you very much for caring. Please do care more and sign petitions and help and join our efforts, okay? Thank you. So, I want to thank you, and come back next month, and we'll have another great meeting. And until then, stay inventive. Oh, thank you for our other companies that help us. Michelle.